A lot of people get that when you retire, people are taking all these beautiful vacations and they're walking through the sand on a beach with their margaritas. For the most part, most people aren't doing that. Most people wish they could do that, but most people are not doing that. And so many people right now are having a hard time with the housing costs, the groceries, the insurance. We're being taxed to death. So you're going to see people that are not always going to tell you how bad they're struggling. I get it. They're proud. I get that. They're embarrassed.
Welcome to the Common Sense Philosophy channel. Yes, today the title is Growing Old, Broke, and Confused. Growing Old, Broke, and Confused. Man, I know you guys have been paying attention to the news. This is crazy. From older people being homeless, their 401k is not doing what they thought it was going to do. They're retiring in a happy mood, but then it's turning into something else. It's a real sad thing when you look at it. And it's really, when you think about it, when you're making a certain amount of money in your life and then you retire, how do you think when you retire, you're getting a percentage of that money and that you're going to be able to live on that type of money? It really don't make sense when you really think about it. But while you're doing it, you're just working, you're doing your job, you're making your money. You say, well, 30, 40 years, I'm going to retire and then everything will be perfect. But you kind of forget that when you retire, you're only going to get a pinch of that if you get the pension, for those that may get that. But most people might not even get the pension. So now you're just, I don't know what you're doing. Would you get Social Security? It's just a mess. And so now you're looking at your children, your grandchildren, for them to help you be able to help you with your lifestyle, maintain your life. I know they got this thing now, like you can live in a more of a older people's resort or type situation, but I heard those are expensive. And also, if you do have your own place, you got a mortgage or you paid it off, hopefully, but you still got to do property tax. And now you're hearing people's property tax going up 60, 80%. So if you're on a fixed income, that's going to be a problem right there. So really, when you start to think about it, you start to think, who's going to be able to retire? And they're talking about you need $1 million to retire. Oh my God. And then people are living to be older. So they're retiring and they're still alive for many, many, many more years. So when you start to really think about all this and put this in a mind state of understanding how this is working as a business, you start to be like, what? How is somebody going to retire in this day and then this age? How are they going to do it? How can they set the program up to be official for them to do what they need to do, to be active like they need to be, and to actually get things done in the most proper, secure way for what that's in their best benefit? Like I said, looking to your kids or your grandkids to take care of you might not be the way. That might not work because they don't even have those jobs no more. Because there was a time when you graduated, right? You would, as soon as you graduate, you could walk out and get a brand new job. It was sitting there waiting on you. Or a time when you went to college, for sure, no matter how much you spent, you was going to get that job to be able to pay for your student loans. But now, either the other job is not waiting for you fresh out of high school, or when you go to college, you can't even get that job. Most people are working at jobs that don't have anything to do with their degree, which is connected to their student loans, which they're still paying. So growing old broke has got to be crazy. But thank y'all for checking out the channel. We're going to run some more clips and we'll see y'all later.
We are living in a retirement nightmare right now with so many people facing homelessness. When I grew up seeing your parents, and then for me, working decades, you think retirement is a time of peace and quiet. You're rewarded for all your hard work. And for so many, it has become a complete nightmare. It's not like that anymore, unfortunately. There are so many people right now that are one rent, one medical bill, and one bad month of being homeless out on the streets. That's very sad. But that, unfortunately, is the reality that we are living in right now. I grew up believing that after working really hard for years, and everything would be fine. You know, you're putting into your 401k. You know, if you're fortunate enough to have a 401k, I worked for only one company that had a 401k, so I really didn't have a whole lot in a 401k. I was fortunate enough to have a pension, not a large one by any means, but I just saved for my retirement. That's what I had to do. So that's what we're thinking, that everything was great. You know, a lot of people get that when you retire, people are taking all these beautiful vacations and they're walking through the sand on a beach with their margaritas. For the most part, most people aren't doing that. Most people wish they could do that, but most people are not doing that. And so many people right now are having a hard time with the housing costs, the groceries, the insurance. We're being taxed to death. So you're going to see people that are not always going to tell you how bad they're struggling. I get it. They're proud. I get that. They're embarrassed as to where they're at in life. They're going to feel like they failed. They didn't do enough to prepare themselves. I didn't always do enough to prepare myself. But you're going to find people sleeping in cars. You're going to find people staying with other families.
Busted their butt, because that's how we were raised, to work hard your whole life and then start to get close to your retirement age and realize you don't have enough money saved. You don't have enough invested. And not because you were lazy. Gen Xers are definitely not lazy. It's because we didn't have extra money at the end of the month to put away towards retirement, right? So what do you do when you find yourself in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and you're realizing you don't have enough money to live on for the rest of your life? Well, I'll tell you what we did. We went looking for an additional stream of income. We went looking on social media for a way to bring in more money. And we researched everything. There's lots of stuff out there to choose from. Some things are great. Some things are not so great.
We be chillin'.